the conversation around injury anxiety. And I only bring this up because I actually feel this. If I really am honest and tune into what I've experienced in my 34 years on the planet, and especially as an athlete from professional to amateur, I feel injury anxiety quite a lot. I feel nervous sometimes about the fact that because I've had so many injuries that I potentially could get another injury, and this could be a moment where something happens. And with that, I have looked back at games I've played, and there's so many games where I wasn't present to execute the skill because I was so in my body, worried about what would happen to it, that I wasn't actually thinking about executing the skill and performing in what I was doing. So I've had conversations with young athletes, especially who are coming back from injury. How do we come back from an injury with confidence and without this injury anxiety that can riddle us?
So the first thing to say here is that it's a perfectly normal, natural feeling to be like this after an injury. And I think the first thing we've got to do is recognise it and accept it and normalise it. It is perfectly okay to have fear and mistrust in your body after it's let you down and given you an injury. I've had it myself. When I injured my disc 2-3 years ago doing deadlifting, going back to doing the deadlift weight that injured me took a long time for me to feel happy and confident to do that. I'm talking years. I was back deadlifting within a couple of months, but to have the confidence and not to have these little whispers in the back of my mind going, danger, 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 watch out, watch out, watch out, took years to disappear. So I think, how can we help that is to first normalise it, say it's okay, let's talk about it, let's get it out in the open, let's not be ashamed of it, let's not make us feel that it's something we have to hide and pretend isn't there, because I don't think that's helpful. And then the next thing to do is recognise it just takes time for it to go away, but it goes away with repeated gradual exposure to the thing that brings it on. So you have to keep doing the stuff that makes you feel uncomfortable. You have to do the stuff that makes these fears and these anxieties present. And you just have to chip away at it by gradual exposure and eventually prove to yourself and to your body and to the system it's okay. Nothing bad has happened. But the risk is that if something bad does happen as you're doing that, it's going to add to those anxieties again the next time. And then it's going to have to be started all over again, which is sometimes what does happen with repeated injuries. So I think the more injuries you have, the higher these things unfortunately tend to be and the longer they take to disappear. And there is no quick fix. There is no magic solution here. It is something that just needs to be normalised, recognised as perfectly okay, and then just worked with rather than trying to just get rid of.
It's with anything, like anything that you have where you've had some form of anxiety. It could even be a bad performance that you've had. You've got to literally, you can't run from it. I think we're falling into a trap of mentally trying to sugarcoat too many things for people to protect ourselves from these dangers, because I get people saying, how do I get rid of my anxiety? And it's like, well, by literally facing whatever's making you anxious and dealing with that, rather than thinking I need to move away from this thing that's making me anxious. Because especially if we're talking about sport, it's something that you enjoy doing, you're going to get yourself in an uncomfortable position, whether it's in a performance or whether it's physically coming back from an injury that you're trying to expose yourself out of. And yeah, the only way out of anxious feeling is through it.
Yeah, I think sometimes we've got to lean into these things, and it just needs that, little graded, gradual exposure approach. We're not talking gung-ho, we're not talking, really aggressive, uncomfortable situations. It's just about chipping away at literally, gradually, slowly to try and say, just change things, and its perceptions. But I also think, it's just getting rid of this toxic mentality about positivism all the time and about how things have to be perfect. And if you've got something that's not perfect, then it's your fault. And it's something that's adverse, and something that we use this term a lot in physio called yellow flags. I hate it. It's this term that we sometimes, physios like to attach to people, saying they've got these adverse behaviors outside of normal behaviors, which means they're not going to have good outcomes and stuff like that. I'm like, this is all bollocks. This is just stuff that happens to people when they've got injuries. They ruminate, they focus on it, they get stuck on it, they don't know how to proceed, they got fear and anxiety. It's all perfectly normal, human, natural behavior to have.
Hello, you legend. If you've enjoyed this video, then you might enjoy this video right here, which is the full unedited episode. Go on, head up to it. Up there. Go. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any new videos. I'll see you soon.